Welcome everybody and welcome back to my channel. My name is Emma and today we're going to be talking about something interesting. We're going to be talking about if science and Islam go together. Now I wanted to talk about this because I grew up Christian. So if you didn't know, I am a revert. I've been a revert for almost 2 years now, I want to say, and almost 2 years now. And I grew up in a Christian household. I always had a strong belief in both God and in science. But my church often said things that didn't quite align with science. They would say things like evolution isn't real, and there are some churches that go as far as to say that dinosaur bones were hidden in the ground by Satan to trick humans into believing that dinosaurs existed. Yeah, I don't buy that. I want to talk about the fact that Islam and science actually go hand in hand, and I think a lot of people don't realize that, and I just want to have that discussion. So let's start off by saying that our religion, Islam, says that the pursuit of knowledge is a religious duty. So to be a Muslim, you need to be pursuing knowledge. And specifically it talks about pursuing knowledge about our dunya, or if you don't know what that means, our world, the mortal world. We are supposed to be learning about our world and pursuing all of this knowledge about not only our world, like when I say our world, I don't just mean the earth, but galaxies and universes and all of that. We need to be exploring that and learning more in order to have a deeper understanding of what Allah has created. So like I was saying, science and Islam go hand in hand. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, emphasized that our dunya can only be understood through scientific inquiry, and that our culture, our Islamic culture, is knowledge-based. And actually, in order to understand the Quran itself, you have to dig deep into our world. And I'm going to give you a very specific example of that. This example it's a very interesting example that I didn't know about for a while, and when it was introduced to me, my mind was just like completely blown. Black holes are mentioned in the Quran. Yep, you heard that right. Black holes are mentioned in the Quran. Now, you might be saying there's nothing that says, there's no, the wording is not black hole. It doesn't say that. And you're right, it doesn't say that. But that's why you have to dig a little bit deeper. Now, I apologize if I pronounce this wrong, but we're going to do our best, and I will put it up on the screen just in case you have no idea what I'm talking about. So Surah Al Turik says, "I swear by the heavens and by the Turik, and what will convey to you." Let's try this again. So I actually have a handy dandy, not notebook, but a piece of paper that has a surah on it. So pardon me for looking down for a minute, but there's this Surah Al Turik. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong again. I will put up there what the spelling is in case I totally mispronounce that and you have no idea what I'm saying. "I swear by heaven and the Turik, and what will convey to you what the Turik is? The star piercing the darkness." So when you look at the actual word, so we say piercing in English, but it's actually a little bit more in depth in Arabic. So I'll put the word up here because I'm just not confident in my pronunciation. But what it means is, not only does it mean piercing, it means opening a hole and penetrating and passing through. So you can kind of imagine that that is a puncture, right? So that's saying a star puncturing the darkness, right? A star penetrating, passing through the darkness. And in science, the word used to describe black holes is puncture. So as you can see, the Quran actually does mention black holes. And so that is why it's very important to study our dunya so that we can understand the Quran and understand Allah's word even better than we did before. It is also worth mentioning that science has always been enjoyed and celebrated by the Islamic community. There was actually a library called the House of Wisdom in Baghdad, created by Abbasid Caliph al-Mamun, and that actually spread a ton of scientific knowledge. So science has always been embraced by Islam. And I think that if we narrow our thoughts and say certain things aren't possible, you're really limiting your view of the Quran and Allah's word. You need to study things that have been talked about by the scientific community. Study them. Go back to the Quran. Read and see where it lines up, where things start to make sense. And I always thought of things like evolution and dinosaurs and stuff like that as they're not impossible. They are God's creation. Evolution happened through Allah's grace. Allah made that happen, and I don't see why that's something that should not be explored further. Now, before any of you start complaining about evolution, saying, well, humans aren't descended from apes, well, actually, you're right, they're not. And in the in the description below, I will link some scientific studies talking about why humans are not descended from apes, so you can go ahead and read them at your leisure. We are connected, I believe, but we are not descended. So I think that this is just my personal opinion, so it's not that deep, and take it with a grain of salt and don't be too offended if you disagree with it. But I think a lot of people dismiss scientific things because they have only read they've only scratched the surface of the Quran, and they've only read through the what it says, but they haven't studied it. They haven't dedicated time to verses and learning and thinking deeply, and so they ignore certain things because they want to have this view that it appears to be, when in fact it could be something deeper. It could mean something a little bit or a lot different from your interpretation at this moment in time. And now, I'm sure there are people who have studied deeply and disagree with science, but I think that happens through ignoring things and saying, well, that's an interpretation, but I don't think it's the right one. And that's valid, I guess, but I think multiple interpretations should be studied and weighed and discussed, and not just what it says on the surface. I think it was Samantha J. Boyle who said verses of Shakespeare have been studied for years and years to be understood. So how can you expect to understand a verse of the Quran in one reading? Right? So it takes years and years and years of study to fully understand things, and that's why science should never be dismissed. I hope you learned something from this, and I hope you enjoyed it. Go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe to this channel. Both of those things really help me out a lot. And you can find me on Instagram right here. I'm going to be trying to post more frequently, so stay tuned. And if you've got any questions, comments, snide remarks, put them down in the comment section below. Okay, have a great day. Bye!